People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, Arsenal obviously drew in our last Premier League game, 1 goal apiece with Sheffield United. But the football calendar is very fast turning. We're at that period where the games again are coming thick and fast. On Tuesday, we travel to Stamford Bridge in the league to play against Chelsea. Now, I know a lot of you probably still have fresh in the mind not only the last Premier League fixture we've just played against Sheffield, but how the game at home at the Emirates went against them. Now, we can sit here and say we could have, we should have won, if this happened, if that happened, and they're all relevant points, people. That's what football's about. But if we be cynical and we deal with reality and the facts are we lost that game because we switched off for in the last 7 minutes or so, however long it was. We showed naivety. You look at Tammy Abraham's goal. I'm not saying these individuals solely are the ones to blame, but we've got some young, naive individuals and we've got some experienced ones. You saw the two centre-halves in Tammy Abraham's goal. One is not pressing, one's not dropping off. They're just doing nonsense. Both our fullbacks in Saka and Maitland-Niles, I believe, are caught high up the field. Guendouzi, as much as I like him as a footballer, very naive. He's running back in a recovery position and actually looking around and got his hands up. And I'm thinking to myself, that's supposed to be you in that situation. And they obviously struck. Chelsea fans, I'm sure they would agree, the second half opened up a bit more as Arsenal went out of gas. But really, they would have felt lucky when they were 1-1 and would have got a point. Let alone, it must have been the ultimate smash and grab to win 2-1 because they didn't deserve it. Our performance did. But again, being cynical, did we deserve to win if we didn't win? Yes, we can say that, people, but football is harsh, the world is harsher. We didn't win because we didn't manage the game well, so by this logic, we can say we didn't deserve to win. Now, we go to Stamford Bridge, a place where, while when we bucked Chelsea at home in recent years and fixtures, it's been even, we're still looking for that win in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge. I remember even Emery in his first season, we went Stamford Bridge and for like 45 minutes we were decent and then we lost. Really, because we never took our chances, really and truly. Playing at Stamford Bridge just has some toxic memories for Arsenal. I'm 24 years of age. I'm actually old enough to remember when going to Stamford Bridge was kind of a cool result or a decent fixture. But obviously with the Jogbas, with the Eden Hazards, with all these bullies, I've seen many Arsenal players embarrassed. I've seen many a fixture us get embarrassed. We've been through it with Chelsea. Chelsea are not that side per se in terms of winning the league right now. But it is what it is. Now, first and foremost, I want Arsenal to learn from, if we're really under Arteta, and I'm not even looking at him now, I'm looking at the players now, because like I said in my reviews in relation to Sheffield, Arteta can give these guys the tactics, can galvanise them, can do all of these things, but they need to become active thinkers. He needs to become more of a facilitator and less of a trainer. He needs to become that reassuring voice, that character that reiterates things, rather than him giving you all the keys and the answers and things. The players need to work it out. The players have played enough games to know game management. For whatever reason, we need to do it better. Because you look at Sheffield, if we do the same thing against Chelsea, we won't get a good result. At 1-0, you either go for, it sounds silly, but you either go for more goals or the players rein it in a bit. We see out this 1-goal lead. If we can get a second, then fine. But, we're not flying as many bodies together, forward together. We were in two minds against Sheffield on top of many different things. But these are the sort of things we need to improve on. Again, against Chelsea United, the first halves were there. The tenacity was there. The everything we called for was there. We need to take it away from home, but everything was there. It's all in the second half when we're blowing. And for me, it's about managing the game. Like I said, active thinkers. The players have got to stop and say to themselves, we have taken the lead in so many games under Arteta now, a decent amount, and have we necessarily won, or have we saw out the game in the best way? We need to stop being naive and kind of work it out ourselves a bit more. You lot are experienced players, you lot are grown men. I've got sympathy for the young players, and I'm not saying they need to be the finished article, but a number of them have played a lot of games now to be able to realise when certain patterns collectively are appearing, people. So first and foremost, start the game as we mean to, finish the game as we mean to start that. And it's easier said than done. Obviously, players get tired, but it's about, these are the sort of things we're going to have to handle, people. See out the game. Don't cheat yourselves, because I don't think we cheated ourselves against Chelsea, but we cheated ourselves in that we switched off for around 7 minutes, crept into old habits, and didn't get that positive result. And if we're really cynical, as good as we might have felt many aspects of that game was, if we look at it as neutral as possible, it is the same old Arsenal. Taking a lead, not seeing it out. Teams are banging on the door, and you're not doing anything about it. Ultimately, to capitulate. And I want to see a good performance at Chelsea. Both teams, well, lost points, dropped points. Isaac Hayden, a Gooner. At least if we don't beat them on Tuesday, one Gooner's beat these lot. He managed to strike in the latter stages for Newcastle to claim 3 points off Chelsea. And many people will criticise Steve Bruce and whatnot. He's actually done quite well when you look at the top 6 games they've played and that, like we've got to play them at home. So make sure you lose that game. But they've been decent against the top 6. But Chelsea, I'm sure again, no one's calling for Lampard out and things. And if you offer Chelsea fans where they are in the league now, 4th in August, regardless of the micro issues that's happened along the season, they would have taken that. That doesn't mean there's not criticism. They've got plaudits for the young players and the young G's are doing their things, but clearly they need, and I think Lampard's even kind of begged for it in comments, they need a couple more attacking players. Maybe that's another striker for him and Tammy to compete or play together. They need a couple other people. They need a defender, because similar to us, I think Chelsea, they could see some very late and cheap goals, people. And they're not converting their chances, people. In their last game against Newcastle, I'm sure they had 19 shots and only 4 on target. That's a theme you can see at Arsenal. Clean sheets and things kind of evade Chelsea. I don't have it statistically. If the statistics don't back me up, I'm sure many Chelsea fans would say they're not as great defensively as they'd like to be. They haven't come back when gonna go down too many times in the league as well. And for me, if you look at a couple of their goals, you look at Gosling, you look at Hayden, you look at a couple, they concede late goals as well. So while we do, that's something we need to be able to do. Obviously, our task is 10 times harder, people, with the absence of Aubameyang. Not just because he scores goals and things like that. And Martinelli does his thing, but you're probably looking at Aubameyang being at Stamford Bridge. We need him on that left hand, potentially on that left hand side to give us that work rate. He play in the middle, but we have to recognise stopping Chelsea's fullbacks. So in short, there's no need to go over the tactics and all these things in the Chelsea game again. We know we started the game very well. It's about ending the game very well. Both teams will want 3 points. Lampard's Chelsea are 4th, but I'm pretty sure because of losing against Newcastle, because their results have been a bit shaky, while beating Arsenal because of how poor we've been this season, won't be anything to, get gassed about. It would do a lot to kind of ease any pressure off Lampard or the boys, if there is any, people, really and truly. For people like David Luiz, obviously you're going back to Stamford Bridge. I hope you've got a point to prove, in the same way you was moving like someone who hated Chelsea when we played them at the Emirates, people. I want to see these same things. The travelling Arsenal fans will always, like they always are, very vocal, very supportive. But there's only so much they can do. At Stamford Bridge, it's not the Emirates. We've played away from home, but we've got to be able to still show that fight, that tenacity, that guile, all that stuff they show anyways, regardless of the fans. But the stuff they've been feeding off the fans, they need to go out there and do it themselves. We've been poor home and away this season, but we know one theme that's troubled us for many years now is away games. Beating Chelsea or even losing to Chelsea isn't going to define how good or how poor we're going to be long term in terms of away form, but it will be decent. Away from anything, just because they're London rivals and it's 3 points on the table, and because Arsenal fans ain't got 3 points in a minute, I'd like to win, man. I'd like to see us hold the lead, because we've taken the lead in enough games now. Palace, Chelsea, Sheffield, and we haven't necessarily always walked away with the 3 points. In fact, we haven't, to put it nicely, people. So we need to see something, man. We really need to see something. We know what we need to do. We need to discourage them from play. We need to be brave in possession. We need to press high. I'd actually encourage them to kick it to Tammy Abraham, because Tammy's good in the air, but when he knocks it down, we need to get the first and seconds. You stop the ball into Jorginho. You lot know this, people. That's the same blueprint at the Emirates has to be done at the Bridge. Obviously, both managers are no idiots. They will probably tweak slightly things to, keep the other one on their toes in relation to that game. But we'll have to see. As well, stop the ball into Jorginho, into that midfield, and you've done a lot against that Chelsea side, really and truly. So I guess the only thing, and just in terms of results, people, again, they'll up their games for us, but they've lost to Newcastle. Everton's got a result off them. Brighton's got a draw off them. Southampton beat them 2-0. Again, Southampton, I'm sure they bagged in the last 20. So the last 20 is the first 20 and the last 20 is crucial for both sides, really. I'd say for me it's a game, I'm going to look at it in the first half of 4 10-minute halves, essentially, and obviously you got the 5 or 2 20 minutes, because I think getting games against the top 6 is firmly that. I guess the only thing lacking is the lineup now. I'm not sure there can be any new injury news. I'm not sure if Kolasinac is back and fit. If he is, then I'd be tempted to bring him in because, yeah, man, Saka looks a bit tired out there. Even though he had a good game against Sheffield United, I'd just bring Kolasinac back in. You know, we need a bit of a brute in there, especially going to the bridge with Chelsea's away fans and whatnot, galvanising their team. But if Saka starts, and rightly so, he should. So I guess in regards to the lineup, Leno picks himself. I'm going to go with David Luiz. If Sokratis is fit again, I don't know the severity of his injury, but I'd go with Sokratis if fit. If he's not, I'd go with Rob Holding. But I'd have to wonder if Mustafi, who's barely played, elected to start ahead of you against Sheffield United, Rob Holding. What aren't you showing Arteta in training? Because you're fit enough to be on the bench. So what aren't you showing? But if it was me, Sokratis and Luiz, if not, Holding gets to look in. Maitland-Niles at right back for me. Saka, I've got no issues with him starting at left back because he does his thing. So Saka at left back if Kolasinac ain't about. Midfield, I'm going to Torreira, Xhaka and Ozil. Now Ozil's been anonymous against Leeds and anonymous against Chelsea, and he needs to... anonymous against Sheffield, but he turned it up against United and Chelsea relatively. He needs to fix up again. Do I think... Again, I could be wrong. Do I think Arteta is going to bring Ceballos in for the Chelsea away game? I'm not too sure. So I'd be inclined to believe Ozil is going to start again. Unless you bring in Guendouzi or Joe and go with a slightly more of a flat midfield three. He could go with Joe for the energy he offers. But I think he will elect to go with Mesut Ozil. So I'm going to Torreira, Ozil and Xhaka. Up front, we've got Noah Aubameyang. Similar to Saka, one of the first names on the team sheets, like with Torreira as well. Martinelli retains his place on the left-hand side. Nelson sadly suffered a hamstring injury and Arteta said it doesn't look good. Take of that what you will. So Pepe has to do our job on the right-hand side, and he was decent in his last game against Sheffield United. But I'd say for Pepe as well, he's one of these players, and it's because he's just joined the league as well. He needs to keep the same standards he starts the game towards the end, because I feel he was good in our last game. But why I was saying in my comments I felt him and Laka could have been subs sooner is because they looked jaded out there. They looked tired and the standards are dropping. You're not dropping back as quickly and it's harming the team to a degree. But Pepe, I'm impressed with. I wouldn't say impressed, but I'm happy with what I'm seeing from him so far. So Pepe's on the right. Lacazette, listen, we know his form. I'm not going to harp on about his form. We're just hoping with every game that he bags. Technically, he's got an assist against Leeds, and him and Ozil, as poor as they were on against Sheffield, really, they were involved in the pre-build up to what led to Martinelli tapping in from close range. So he's working hard and things, but you can't keep praising people for working hard and putting in a shift. At some point we need to look at the competencies they're offering. Lacazette's losing form. He's lost form. He's playing probably the poorest he's been since he's joined this club, but I still stand by him. I think he's a decent player. And he is going to start, so he deserves our support, in my opinion. So I'll go with Lacazette through the middle. I mean, there's always the wild card I would go with, and it all would depend on Kolasinac. I would actually go on Martinelli up front, Lacazette on the bench, Martinelli up front, Saka on the left, Pepe on the right. But I think with Martinelli, he's decent in the air for someone not necessarily the biggest. I think Arteta will go with Lacazette because of the physical threat he holds. It's a bit more of a man's body sort of thing for whatever you say about the form. And that will still, Martinelli can do his thing. Because I hope that the team actually pick him out early. Because like you saw against Sheffield being at the game, he's making, not Aubameyang runs, but he's the only one, like, the defenders are there. He's trying to chill on the last shoulder and he's telling people, just knock that over the top with a little bit of spin and I'm gone. You know what Martinelli's on already, man. Him and Saka, the young G's most on this thing. But that would be my lineup. I hope we can do this, people. I hope we can get a good result. Whether we can get a good result is purely on Arsenal Football Club. But for now, people, it's been a pleasure as it normally is. But I'm going to get out of here. Deluded.